Welcome to Rewatch and Rank. On this channel, we rewatch older TV shows, provide a summary and opinion on the episode before ranking each episode against each other. Today's episode is One Punch Man Season 2, Episode 17, The Martial Arts Tournament. The episode in a nutshell is just a brief reminder of what happened within this episode. So the episode starts at the Hero Association headquarters where we have Busho and Jinzurn and Exma monitoring the situation in the city, starting with like the Elder Centipede that Mohican and Pineapple are carrying Wagama and Naranki away from. And then we find out that actually there's been a coordinated attack with multiple various monsters attacking multiple heroes throughout various multiple cities in the universe and essentially causing chaos. We also do briefly highlight that Metal Bat and Garo are having a fight. However, this fight is unable to conclude because Metal Bat's younger sister Zenko comes and basically stands between Metal Bat, who is badly beaten, and Garo, and basically says, "Our family rule is no violence in front of me. Therefore, this fight is over." And Garo, as we've already seen, seems to have no ill will towards children, and so he ultimately decides to walk away, pretending he had something else he was going to be doing that day anyways. And then Zenko is able to stay with her brother, though her brother then goes to try to continue fighting the centipede that's attacking. However, she basically latches onto him and like hits him, and he ends up getting knocked out on the ground. So that's where their little saga ends. And then while all of this monster fighting is going on and these attacks from monsters are going on, the tournament is going on completely unawares of what is happening outside. So we have Saitama, who's in his little dressing changing room. Sourface comes to get him. He puts on his wig, walks out. Sourface seems to have no idea that this isn't Sharenko in front of him. And basically, Saitama is kind of ignorant to what's happening. We see all the martial arts artists get introduced, and then Lightning Max has his match against Ling Ling. And then Saitama's opponent comes up to him and is, trying to like psych him out, you could say. But Saitama's completely oblivious to this and ends up just really making him angry instead. And then at the end of the episode, we have Saitama entering his first battle against the opponent that he's just thoroughly made angry. Then the post-credit scene, we have Saitama beating Zakos, his opponent, with one hit, which is to be expected. And then the announcer goes on about how weak Zakos was and that he had invited his girlfriend so that he could propose to her when he wins. And Saitama thinks that he's done a bad thing. But then the announcer reveals that, in fact, he's safe because she didn't show up. And Saitama takes that as relief. And meanwhile, kind of watching from the sideline, we have Suryu, who is saying that he thinks he knows who he will be facing in the finals. So now that we've been reminded about what happens in the episode, it's now time to rank the episode, and as always, we'll be ranking on our mostly objective ranking list, followed by our personal ranking list. So to start off with our mostly objective rank values, I highlighted those I felt applied to this episode. So the first is our single episode supporting character introductions, and oh my gosh, were there so many new characters in this episode? So much so that I decided to just give them a point per group because they're all kind of bit parts. So we'll start with our monsters. So we have Phoenix Man, Rhino Wrestler, Sledge Jellyfish, Hundred Eyes Octopus, Pureblood, Vampire, Mycoplasma, Electric Catfish Man, Free Hugger, Eyesight, Doe S, Martial Gorilla, and Fistfight Jin as our monsters. Then we have our heroes who were fighting said monsters. We've got Heavy Kong, Lightning Genji, Darkness Blade, Saturn Man, Panda Man, Dynamite Man, Death Gatling, Bone, Butterfly DX. And these are just the new ones. Obviously, we do have some repeat heroes that were fighting some of the monsters, but these are our new characters. We then have Zenko, who is Metal Bat's younger sister, and she's worth a point on her own. And then we have the martial artists who are in the martial arts tournament as our final group, and that's Linlin, Benpatsu, Volton, Bezuzu, Gadolin, Hamakichi, Dave, Rosie, Mentai, Jakumin, Chose, Zakos, and Bakuzen. Of course, there are some martial artists that we did meet in the other episode as well, but these are just the new ones for this episode, and that brings us to 4 points so far. And then our next points and only other points that we have for this episode are the world building elements, which is, of course, the fact that the Monster Association has been revealed. So I believe back in the first episode of season 2, there was an organization that was referred to, but they did not give us any details about said organization. Now it is revealed that that organization is the Monster Association, and that the monsters have been hiding themselves away, training to become strong enough to have a big final battle against the heroes. And right now, the reason that they're all coordinating these various attacks is so that they can get their threat levels assessed by the association by going ahead and defeating a bunch of the stronger heroes that are in like the A classes. And also that they are attempting hostage taking, and that is why they've been after um, Wegman and his dad, not to take his dad, but to take him so that they can have hostages over the Hero Association. And that's worth another 4 points, which brings this episode objectively to an 8 out of 10. So we'll come to our season rankings so far in our mostly objective ranking, and in first we have the Human Monster, The Hunt Begins, The Metal Bat, Return of the Hero, and then this episode is the lowest scoring so far, the Martial Arts Tournament. So for this episode on the personal rankings, I found that overall this episode had a lot of different battles. It was very jumpy. It was going from this fight to this fight to this fight to this fight to that fight to the next fight to another fight, back to the tournament, so on and so forth. Like it's just very ongoing little bits of fights that ultimately the heroes end up losing because the monsters have been planning their assault for a while and are there to get their threat levels and purposefully chose matchups that would benefit them to increase that level and that they were likely to win against. Now, there were a couple things that I did like about the episode. For example, I liked that Garo did stop when Zenko got between him and Metal Bat. Obviously, because he has his little friend. With the book, we already know that he's fine interacting with kids. He seems to have a hate for heroes specifically, but seems to be fine with everybody else. So it is nice that he did at least not beat up her brother in front of her and did, in fact, choose to walk away. I liked that he did that. I also liked how when Saitama's introduced in the tournament, the announcer points out that on his form, he asked his competitors not to hit his head. And we as the audience obviously know that this is because he's wearing a really bad wig that's like really poorly placed on his head, so he doesn't want it to get knocked off. But the audience and his opponents take that more as a weakling, doesn't want to like really fight, wants to like protect his face or whatever, and so like he gets booed, except for Genos, who's sitting in the stands and just like clapping like mad because, it's his master Saitama that is about to fight. But I did find that really funny. Disturbing moment. So there's the Phoenix Man, and it looks like a bird that's talking, but it is revealed that it is actually some sort of suit because when Garo is being invited to come by the Monster Association, out of like between the feathers, a hand holding the card kind of comes out, and then Garo takes the card, rips it up, and says, he doesn't have an interest in the association, he's just doing his own thing, killing and hunting heroes. But the Phoenix Man's like, well, if you change your mind, you can come to our side because we're not your enemies, obviously because they're monsters, and he's on the side of monsters. But I did find it disturbing how, at first, because like the suit was moving on its own, I thought it was like a phoenix shaped monster, and then like this hand just randomly comes out of its stomach area, and I'm like, ooh, that's gross. But I mean, obviously, that just means it's probably like a suit that's shaped like a phoenix, but it does fly, so I don't know. I just find that one disturbing a bit. And then I also found it really amusing how Sourface, who supposedly was a senior disciple of Shrenko and has been like giving him advice and talking to him, now Saitama's out of the room. He's like standing there, and Sourface has no idea he's not talking to Shrenko after supposedly being like co-disciples of Bang for like apparently years. He has no idea what Shrenko looks like and actually thinks Saitama is Shrenko, which is, in my opinion, hilarious. Also, Sourface gets very nervous about the fight to the point where he has to like brace himself against the wall and be like, I'm okay, I'm okay, I can do this, I can do this, I'm okay. Because he is just feeling a lot of pressure in this fight, which I found funny. Honestly, I feel like I have a slight bias towards tournament or exam arcs in various anime. I always tend to enjoy them, even if they're not my absolute favorite. They're usually in my top few arcs. So I have enjoyed this kind of like tournament style thing, except obviously it's not getting full spotlight because all of the chaos happening outside. And then it also takes our main character out of all the chaos happening outside and gets our main character less screen time, which, frankly speaking, I'm watching this show for the main characters, so I'm not overly fond of that. Overall, as I started this, I will end it and say again, average episode, had some highlight moments, had some not so highlighty moments, ultimately a 5 out of 10, which brings our season ranking so far to The Hunt Begins, The Human Monster, Return of the Hero, this episode in 4th, The Martial Arts Tournament, and then in 5th, The Metal Bat. And that now brings me to the series ranking so far. And on our mostly objective ranking, Season 1 ended with 88.33%, and Season 2 so far has 47 out of 120. Meanwhile, on the personal side, Season 1 ended with 76.67%, and Season 2 so far has only earned 33 out of 120. With that, we've now rewatched and ranked One Punch Man Season 2, Episode 17, The Martial Arts Tournament. Like and subscribe if you'd like to, and I'll see you in the next episode.